I'm Sackbot Barbecue.
And I'm Giggleklutz. And today we're going to talk about parody.
That's parody as in like a spoof, and not parody as in like things being like equivalent to one another, right?
Or our new bird mascot. We do not have a new bird mascot. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not drawing a bird mascot, so it's good that we don't have one of those.
Yeah, I was thinking about a real bird anyway, so that's double good we don't have one.
Oh, jeez. No pets right now. No new pets.
Okay, so we're going to be going into spoilers for The Looker, The Witness, talking about the Stanley Parable, which is practically a spoiler, and there's also going to be a rant in here about Palworld. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, you'll get to hear all about how Shuckle feels about Palworld.
Oh boy.
I used up all my eye twitches before we started recording.
Alright, so parody. What is parody, and what does it mean, and how is it used as an art form?
So, like, it's kind of a variation of satire, right?
Yes, I guess.
Like, I feel like they're in the same family, even if they have different goals.
But they're very similar goals. In fact, I think satire might be a tool used in parody. I don't know. I don't want to tease out all the linguistics of parody, but what I have down in my notes for what parody is a slightly or very askew presentation of a similar product for commentary or comedic effect. Meaning that you take something that's a little off, but seems to be kind of a mirror of like a movie, a book, a video game, where you use recognizable features of said product to make commentary or jokes about said product. Mm-hmm. You were mentioning that a good one was kind of Shrek, the movie.
Yeah, Shrek. Well, some parts of that have not aged very well. I think, like, in general,
Well, in a matter of speaking, I think all of Shrek has not aged very well at this point, but
it did become what it sought to destroy, yes.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but sure.
Or, you know, for the older listeners, a lot of works of Mel Brooks are good examples of movies that are parodies. Specifically, you know, especially Spaceballs and Men in Tights just come to mind. But a lot of the movies and works of Mel Brooks are parody works, making fun of other properties.
So should we like parodying a squirt gun if you made a gun-shaped water bottle?
There's an argument for that.
Don't get me talking about Splatoon right now.
No. So
You don't drink that.
But it's a gun-shaped water...
La 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 la.
We are not talking about that.
Okay.
Right now. Wink.
Okay.
Alright, so if we haven't lost everybody by now,
We're losing ourselves, that's for sure.
well, at least we're having fun doing it. So we started talking about parody because of a game I'm going to talk about a little later. But first, as we were bringing it up and reviewing it, we got to talking about what is parody amongst ourselves. And that brings up the idea of what isn't parody. And Shuckle has a lot to say and, you know, has things in her head that just won't let go about a game that's using the label of parody that she doesn't really think it should. So I will let you take it away.
Okay, so I'm kind of late to talking about Palworld. You know, I've kind of been avoiding it. I made a TikTok about it, I guess, but that was about, like, the accusations of plagiarism and the accusations about using AI, and honestly, that is completely different from the discussion of parody, but I was already off on the wrong foot with this game, and I was just, like, firmly settled into the camp of, like, no, they're using parody as an excuse to do copyright infringement, and I was like, hold up, I'm gonna do research on this. So I watched an entire playthrough of the game and 2 different lore videos to see if the content of this game is actually parody. And for those of you who do not know what the heck I am talking about, it's...
Lucky you? I don't know.
Lucky you.
You've missed the wagon. Oh my.
It's an open world survival crafting game with a lot of tacked on animals that you can commit heinous crimes against.
And also slavery and cannibalism?
Yeah, basically, it's a very unhinged sandbox, and I don't think it handles any of these topics it presents very well, but one of the biggest controversies is the fact that a lot of its designs look like they were heavily inspired or traced from Pokemon, and that is not part of this discussion, but one of the things that they have hidden behind is saying that it's parody. And doing all this research, I have come to the conclusion, personally, that it is not. And that is because parody often makes fun of things in more than one direction, right? This thing is flawed. Here are the ways it is flawed. And if we're saying that this is a parody of any of the things that Palworld has taken inspiration from, we're going to focus mostly on the Pokemon one. The only, huge way that this game seems to poke fun at Pokemon is, hey, what if you could beat Pokemon to death? What if you could give Pokemon guns? Basically, all that does is violence. And looking at the lore, they do have, some different statements, some different organizations in the lore that do have their own goals for pals, for these creatures, and they take themselves very seriously with this lore. That these people use these pals for this purpose, this is why they're wrong, and it's wow, you are trying to claim you're a parody, but not play anything for humor when it comes to your story and your world building. And that's kind of part of the point of parody. So if it's trying to make fun of Pokemon's approach to this subject, for example, there's a good chance that you guys have heard me talk about Pokemon Black and White and how they handled animal rights activists. And I will staunchly say, is that the word to use here?
Yeah.
That Pokemon itself has handled this discussion of animal cruelty better than Palworld does, which is calling itself a parody. I would hope that you would bring something new to the table, and they don't.
That being said, you haven't played it.
I haven't played
and you're not
it.
interested in it, so that's okay. Yeah?
Yeah, from the standpoint being presented here, it's if you do believe it qualifies as parody in some regard, it would seem to just be a bad parody if so.
Which, those exist, and also, we're kind of into art, and we kind of take theming very seriously, so we have a pretty high bar for some of this stuff. Just because it doesn't meet our bar doesn't mean someone else might not find parodic? I forget, there is a word that means we're applying parody to, or whatever. That word. Me and words sometimes. But, somebody else might find that. But wasn't for you, and you really gave it a good shot.
I did. And I've come to the conclusion that, it's using a lot of the tropes that these sort of games bring to the table, and that is just fine, but using the same tropes as something does not make you a parody of it.
There we go. And that is Shuckle's stance on what makes something not a parody. I don't have an example of something that I feel really strongly about not being a parody that I care to talk about right now. I'm aware of some things I consider very bad parody that I'm not going to get into right now, but it does exist. But instead, I'd like to talk about a good parody.
Yeah, we gotta counterbalance this little rant I had with something that we really enjoy, right?
Yes. And I want to talk about a free game that you can find on Steam called The Looker. Now, if you love The Witness, you may or may not love The Looker. If you hated The Witness, I say you should play The Looker, and you should play The Looker right now. It's free. You have no excuses. Go and play it, have a really good time, and come back.
Here is our invitation to you to go play this game right the dang now.
Yeah, it's done. It's by Subcreation Studio. And yeah, it's free on Steam. And it is a parody love letter to The Witness. The creator, I assume it's one guy, I think. Anyway, who does the voice in there too, because there is voice in there. And they pick apart The Witness and present it back to you with comedic effect in so many layers. I'm sure I didn't pick them all up. I mean, it's Brilliant. It is brilliant. It is one of the best examples of parody I have ever seen. It's chef's kiss. If you want to know what parody can be in a video game, you need some exposure to The Witness to really feel in your bones how funny this is. You had to have spent a lot of time in that world to have created this parody of that world. So you start off underneath an island again, just like you do in The Witness, except if you turn around and go back from where you start, you kind of end up in a spaceship, and I don't know, it seems like a spaceship.
You know, you start out in these corridors, and you walk backwards and it starts playing action music, and there's like a health and ammo pack referencing how it's structured like a lot of, retro FPS games.
But you can't touch anything, except behind you is a reset button
that
you will absolutely forget about.
You can pick up the health and ammo, but they don't do anything.
Okay. Guess who played it most recently? Like today.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think one of the most immediate, parody-ishness of the Looker is the fact that instead of, having this sort of simple, elegant design for these line puzzles, it's start and end.
And you have a crayon icon. A red crayon icon that you draw a line from start to end.
Takes the Witness's structure of you have these two designated points for the line to start and end, moving across a carefully planned out grid to just free drawing it with the mouse, where it is just literally labeled start and end in letters.
Yeah, if you scribble enough on any given puzzle, you will eventually succeed.
Usually. There are a few turns and twists, and some puzzles were not as obvious as you might think. I mean, it's a playable, fun game all by itself. It's just the weirdness of it doesn't make sense and isn't anywhere near as funny if you haven't played The Witness. So it has the puzzles on tablets, just like The Witness does, with the power cables going between them to lead you to the next one.
So, yeah, you finally get out of those tunnels. It's like you're all the wires you see in the castle are leading back to this big golden box in the courtyard.
Which looks really familiar. It's not that one either. And then what happens when you finally open the box?
So yeah, you go through these different branches of puzzles, you finally get to the point where you have this panel on the box itself, this little puzzle in the shape of a key you complete, and then it slowly, dramatically opens up, and inside is a panel facing away from you. It slowly turns around, and it's a kid's menu from a seafood / sandwich restaurant.
And you have to complete the maze on there in order to open the gate to go out into the garden maze.
It's just the puzzle you have to complete on it is just one of the small activities on this menu.
Yep. Yes. And they had there's a library you go through once you figure out the secret entrance, and then there's a horror element in there, which is totally not at all Witness-like.
It's like you slowly pull out a gun.
Right.
See, you do got a gun, and I don't know if the ammo you have the option to pick up at the beginning of the game has anything to do with it.
It does not. It's not game breaking to not pick up the ammo.
Or to pick up the ammo.
Yes, either or, it's fine. It works either way. It doesn't take itself too seriously, no matter how seriously you take it. And there are audio logs, but they're not profound. Or they are profound, but they're profound in a parody kind of way. Like the first one you find, which sounds like it's this really inspiring quote, and then turns into an advertisement for a truck retailer.
Yeah, it's like something about, through all these births, through all these lives, I have never seen such great deals on used trucks.
Yeah. Exactly.
Isn't there one, a hint system that just tells you can do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but then if you go around to the other side of that wall, you find the hint system in the trash, who's all rusty and smoking a cigarette and drinking whiskey, who tells you his sad story about where he's been, which doesn't really apply to anything or help you in the game. It's just
to be real good, real subtle. Could steal the tail off a weasel or something? I don't know.
Yeah. He's so slick.
This hint button is one of the things that speaks to me most, though, because the Witness, it just does not support you at all, and so just having "you can do it" feels like
Oh, if you push it enough, it starts making fun of you. And it starts insulting you.
You keep crawling back to me. Maybe you can't do it. Maybe you're too weak.
This is exactly how it feels to play the witness. Like,
And then you go upstairs, and there's one on an artist's easel that you have to kind of figure out what kind of line they want by trial and error.
It's like, yeah, the layout of the puzzle as you understand it is very simple. It's just the start and end on a line, but there's a narrating voice is critiquing your artistic work as you try and fill it in.
And then you go out on the patio, and there's a telescope. And it's pointed at the sun.
You can look through it.
Ow! Why did they do that?
It's the dialogue you get in game, you get an achievement for it, and we are 90% sure it does nothing.
Except burn your eyes. It's just... Any other points you guys need to hit before...
It's just kind of the bit where you play a game of Snake with the line drawing at one point.
Yeah.
It's like this is parodying the fact that, The Witness is actually a video game, so it's trying to do more conventional video game things. More conventional puzzle game things with its formula, and just have fun playing with it.
They even turn it into a shooter, which is hard.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be in order to shoot your gun, you have to try and solve the little mazes really quickly.
Yeah, so it's a little shooting range, but you complete small puzzles on the targets instead of shoot them.
you gotta be fast and accurate.
Which, with their little crayon, is really difficult. This is not like pro accuracy.
Yeah, playing playing the game all the way through is the only mandatory part. You do not have to score a single point in it, I think. You don't have to be even remotely good at the game to progress.
Oh, right, yeah. I think you might need, like, a certain amount of points, but you can do them all in the ones that do straight lines.
Yeah, I didn't get half of them on my most recent playthrough, and that was fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you need tons less than half.
This game is willing to challenge you for the sake of a gag, but it's like only actually gatekeeps you if that really makes the joke effective.
So after you solve all the puzzles inside the fortress, the library, and you go through the hedge maze, what happens?
So there's a big box.
Just like the ones in The Witness.
Like the ones in The Witness, and then this arm begins to extend out of it. And then it goes more, and then
another arm happens.
Yeah, it's like one projector thing pops out nice and slow, and then another one comes out of the top.
And then it fires a laser, and then it has to slowly correct the laser to hit where it's supposed to go. And
it just barely misses. It has to extend one final arm to put the laser just like 1 inch downwards to actually hit its target.
But it's painstakingly slow. Just like so much of The Witness is. It's like when you're standing around waiting for the bridges to move and all of that. And
there's a puzzle like right next to it you do to open up a shortcut, and it's like, I did that and I missed nothing, and I can't tell if it was waiting on me, if I had to watch it do that, or if it's just that slow.
I don't know, but that definitely was there as commentary. So you do that. You go over to what opens up because of the laser beam, and then you finally get your very first environmental puzzle.
Oh yeah, let's go for environmental puzzles.
And I don't know, maybe we don't spoil that one. Maybe you play The Witness and play The Looker and find it out for yourself. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Sure, you know what? Like, let's leave the biggest hidden jokes. Go find them yourself. Go play the game.
Yeah, it's like, it's the first thing that everybody spoils in the reviews, so what if we just don't?
Yep.
Go read the reviews if you want to find out.
But after you do that, and it's ending the whole game, they do a whole little video that is a parody of the short film at the secret ending of The Witness. Like, shot for shot.
It's the same sort of, live action FMV ending.
Except he's talking to himself instead. Just playing through that. If you've seen that short film at the end of The Witness, playing through The Looker just to get to that video, or I'm sure it's on YouTube someplace. It's if you don't laugh, then I don't get your sense of humor. That's all I have to say. The simplest bit that I'll just mention quick is like, he sees a plate that has start and end written on it that's covered in cookies. He picks a marker up off the table and goes, this one's gonna be easy. He takes the cap off, tips the cookies off the plate, and then draws a line across in red marker. And it's like...
It's like there was a path through the cookie debris to get to the end,
But now he's in the real world. He doesn't have to put up with that bullshit.
That was just the attitude of the game anyway. Most of those puzzles, you could just... There was a maze, but you could just draw along the outside.
A lot of mazes you can actually do that, actually.
Yeah, all it cares is that there's a connected line that goes from start to end.
Yes.
And the game's all about if you just... what does the witness look like if you just decide not to meet it where it is?
Because the witness insists that you do. That's the parody aspect. It's like, witness is all about the rules. The looker is all about breaking them. And it is parody done chef's kiss, in my opinion. It sets a very high bar for what love letter parody can be. And I'm so grateful it exists. I love that I played it. I'm glad you guys played it too. Because it's kind of cathartic after suffering through any of the witness to go play the looker.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Any last thoughts on the looker?
Has this person been frustrated by any other games, by chance?
Not on that account, at least.
Oh, man.
I know, but I would hate to wish someone that level of frustration ever. No matter what kind of art it creates. Just like I have honestly been in an art gallery before and was looking at a piece of art going, there's recognizable trauma symptoms being represented in this art. And this lady actually looked at me and said, well, without the suffering, we wouldn't have such beautiful art. And I wanted to throttle her.
I'm like, the suffering, we wouldn't need the art.
Oh, the thing is
euphoric art exists.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god. Have you
like
heard of psychedelics by any chance? Lots of people on psychedelics make art. And a lot of them are happy while they do it.
Got that one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I'm pointing at some of my paintings where I was happy when I made them. All right.
Yeah. Euphoric art exists, yeah. So it's just, I get so tired of, yes, art can be healing after trauma, and traumatized people can make some really fantastic art. That doesn't mean that their trauma was worth it, just so we can witness their art. No, thank you. Oh, I really can't
just so
stand...
we can witness?
I really can't stand that sentiment, and I'm not even gonna let you derail it.
Yeah.
I'm not. So anyway, bring it back to some levity here. The Looker is parody of one specific game. But parody doesn't have to be one specific game, in fact, or one specific product, or even one IP.
Or one genre.
Well, I was going to say, often it's a genre. Often parody is parody of an entire genre, and pulls in and from a lot of different IPs of the same genre. Like the movie Scream, pulled from all kinds of horror movie tropes from all kinds of different intellectual properties. That's what IP is, in case you didn't know. I didn't know for a really long time, but I just kind of smile and nod. But then there's a game that's a parody of video gaming in general, which is like so broad and so big. If you would have told me that before I'd ever played it or known what this game was, spoiler alert, we've already discussed it in its own episode. Shoot, I lost my thread. I sidetracked myself to the point where I'm lost now.
If only there was some sort of voice to maybe guide us back to the point.
The enemy has captured the control point.
Oh no!
Yikes! That's not what I expected the narrator to say. Anyway, no, we're talking about the Stanley Parable, which is...
You're parodying the points we're making so brilliantly.
So, the Stanley Parable, I don't even know where to start talking about it. I don't know. I just kind of want to mention it because it is a brilliant parody of video gaming in general. The idea of video games, why we might play video games, all kinds of different types of video games, the idea of whether or not video games are art, all of it.
So yeah, just the most basic explanation of how this parodies video games is just the fact that the main character, Stanley, is a guy who works at an office, and his job is to sit in front of a computer and press buttons. He's supposed to press them in a specific order and whatever. The game's not even about that, but that's just like, yeah, if you don't understand video games, that's what they look like to everyone else. You're just sitting in front of a screen, following strange instructions and accomplishing nothing.
We're making sad faces. We're just sitting here making sad faces.
But the thing is even though that is how it's presented, there's lots of drives for human beings. There's lots of drives for human behavior. And the Stanley Parable really utilizes a lot of them into talking about the mechanics of video games, into talking about the different kinds, and then having the narrator be perplexed as to why we would do anything like that. The narrator doesn't get it. And we have fun thwarting him. That's the point.
Tons of, exploration of the nature of video games, the nature of video game players.
The nature of some of video game culture.
And then this only goes deeper when you get into the expansion.
Which is Ultra Deluxe. What do you think the bucket does for the narrative, for adding to the parody effect?
It's content!
Like, that's what people really care about these days. It's like, where's the content? Did I get my money's worth? Was this worth my time?
How many more quantifiable things do I have because of this expansion? This re-release?
Yeah, like, how
Collectibles!
How many more commodities does this game have for this thing that I love that I need to purchase with my money?
Like, clearly, it's only worth playing if I can sink X amount of time into it.
Or feel I have accomplished some quantifiable goal. And then, through the tools of video game itself, it ponders these questions. Which is why I think it's more art than parody. But parody is one of the tools of art.
Yeah. It's like, you get into so much more of the game's actual new substance, and so much of it is just this incredibly unhinged, totally forced stuff that really demonstrates why the idea behind it doesn't work. So then it's really funny, so it works.
Yeah. Oh, there are balloons in the office now.
Which is the most mundane thing that they do, I think, in the entire expansion. Well, and there's also the jump circle.
How dare you? That's not mundane. Finally, you can jump!
Which, just going back to it, the Looker has a joke about that, too.
Oh, really?
You can technically jump. It has a bunch of different sound effects you'll make. But you only jump like an inch, and I think it's just something they're doing with the camera, and your character does not actually gain any altitude.
Yeah, they did that in the patch. If you read the patch notes, they're like, yes, we added a jump button.
I was trying to... It's like one of those jump sounds is like a deliberate Mario parody, and I was trying to see how they mimicked that control scheme for Mario 64, where if you jump in rhythm 3 times, it gets a little higher.
That does it?
I think it is just random, and that one's just a bit rarer, but that would be so funny if it worked.
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe somebody will tell us. Anyway, if you look at the tag parody on Steam, it's, in my opinion, way too liberally applied. I wouldn't say that just because it has the tag parody, it really qualifies as a noticeable parody rather than just being a funny game in a genre.
Yeah, like, for those of you who use Steam a lot, the parody tag is used a lot like the psychological horror tag is used. So, like, I think all those jokes that we apply to how often the psychological horror tag is used could probably be applied here, too.
If it stresses me out, it's psychological horror. If it makes me laugh, it's parody.
Exactly.
Right. So, if you're looking for a rich parody experience of something specific, I don't know exactly how to search for that. I tried. In getting ready for this episode, I really wanted to maybe even play some more parody games, but I didn't want to play every humor game known to man. So we settled on just talking about the ones that we had already played. Because...
Yeah. Of course, like a shout out to Undertale for existing. We're not ready to talk about that yet, but shout outs anyway.
I'm playing it. I'm getting there.
Audible wink.
But yeah, I'm not far enough into it to really... I mean, okay, I've already got some jokes, so... Ooh, yeah. Later.
Like I said, we're not ready to talk about it yet.
I'm just updating everyone that yes, it is in the works. I am slowly working on my homework, okay? I'm behind. I haven't had a lot of energy lately.
It's okay. I've got a lot of backlog of stuff to present.
Yes, you do. Oh.
Look, I've made stuff in the past couple days, alright?
No, there's good stuff coming, audience. There is. So, but no, we really, ever since we had to do this as a compliment to the Witness. So yeah, please, if you have not played the Looker and you have some exposure to the Witness, please play the Looker. It's just, I smile thinking about it. Just enjoy yourself, have a good time. Don't take it too seriously, and feel free to cheat if you need to, because there are a couple tricky bits in it.
And if you are a fan of Palworld, feel free to comment and tell me why you disagree with me. Just please leave out personal insults. We don't need to go that far.
We'd like to have a nice space here.
Yeah. I have a habit of deleting comments that make fun of myself when it comes to my content, and I don't want to delete somebody's argument just because they insulted me, right? Like...
So if you got anything, put that in a separate comment, and then don't post it.
Oh yeah, that works too.
There's always, you have the option to not. But anyway,
I will gladly accept comments of people disagreeing with me.
Feedback appreciated, but personal attacks are not necessary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I don't know, I'm assuming if you enjoy our podcast...
I don't think the demographics really overlap that much, but I wanted a little disclaimer anyway.
Yep, there you go. So anyway, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Parody with Collab Not Multiplayer. I am Giggleklutz.
I'm Honeyshuckleex.
And I'm Sackbot Barbecue.
Goodbye.